the time to make sure we get this information out to our people, to get the truth out. You know, the truth will set you free, but you have to know the truth and you have to live the truth. But to live the truth, to get freedom, we have to be organized. And we're in a struggle organizing. The African Party of Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde is a Pan-Africanist party, a mass party, a revolutionary party. Its program is not just for Guinea-Bissau, it's not just for Cape Verde. It calls for the total liberation of Guinea-Bissau, the total liberation of Cape Verde, the total liberation of Africa, the total liberation of humanity. It calls for the unity of the people of Guinea-Bissau, the unity of the people of Cape Verde, the unity of the people of Africa, with the unity of the anti-imperialist forces in the world. It made several miracles. If in the 1930s to the 1940s, if we would have told you that the PIDC would organize the farmers, the peasants, the workers, many of whom, the overwhelming majority who were illiterate, and would organize so well that not only would they defeat Portuguese colonialism in Guinea-Bissau, but would make a serious contribution to the independence of Cape Verde, Mozambique, Angola, Santa Maria and Principe, and even inside of Portugal. I don't want to go into details, but you can research the Coronation Revolution that took place on the 25th of April, 1974. All those involved say thank you, PIDC, for helping with that process. But I want to skip very fast to what's going on right now. After the years, the ups and downs of making progress, making sure that our people have access to schools, health centers, communications, transportation, increasing our culture, the enemy keeps on struggling against us. Military coups, institutional coups, persecutions, attacking of our radio station, kidnappings, imprisoning, etc., intimidating. But our people have been adapted to each of these levels, each of these struggles on each stage. Recently, in 2020, they did another coup d'etat where they imposed a neo-colonial puppet on us by the name of Umaro Sikoko Mbalo. His mission was to kick the PIDC out of governmental power. But his real mission, he says, is to destroy the PIDC. He said that publicly here. He said it in Cape Verde. You know that we had a split in the PIDC when there was a coup, a military coup in 1980. So the PIDC in Cape Verde, they had a Congress. They called themselves now the PAICV. But now we're moving toward becoming the same party again, the one party. And so when Umaro Sikoko Mbalo went to Cape Verde, he told the people of Cape Verde, say, why don't you all destroy the PICV here in Cape Verde? Because I'm going to destroy the PIDC in Guinea Bissau. So we're just telling him, you know, after you destroy the sun, the moon, the stars, then you can see if you can try to destroy the PIDC. But even if you're successful destroying the sun, the moon, the stars, you can't destroy the PIDC. Because even if you wipe out all the militants of the PIDC in Guinea Bissau, or if you can find all the militants of PIDC in the world and, you know, give us type of a bacteria or a virus that just kills PIDC militants, you still got a lot of people in the world, like some of you who are looking at this right now, who will make sure to reorganize the PIGC. So what I want to say now is that there's another one that the jumps is not going to work. They were really frustrated after a lot of maneuvers they carried out to try to destroy the PIGC. They've attacked our party headquarters several times. They shot us with this tear gas that comes from the Zionists in occupied Palestine. They've even attacked our party Congress. They've been kidnapping our people, putting our people in jail. Everything they can to try to stop us, attacking radio stations, trying to attack. Every time we have a manifestation, they attack it. And at the same time, they have a lot of wealth. You know, it's from dubious origins, but they have a lot of wealth. There's a few of them. So they thought for sure, you know, they had the super big advantage because they got all this wealth. They got all these cars, all these motorcycles, billboards, T-shirts, everything you can imagine, even throwing money out on the streets. But at the same time, the PIC didn't have any money. We didn't have any propaganda. We didn't even have a sound truck. We rented a used one from Gambia that worked for like 3 hours, and then it break down for about another day. So they thought for sure that after manipulating the electoral voter registration, manipulating the outdated National Council for Elections, that for sure that the PIC would not get any more than about 19 or 20 deputies elected out of 102 total. In fact, Umaro Sikoko Mbalo has publicly said it several times. You can get it on the internet, on YouTube and other channels. He said, if the PIDC gets more than 25 deputies, I'll resign. But we got the absolute majority. And the people only gave them 24% of the votes with all the cheating that they did. So they probably even got less than that. So as a result, they tried to see what other type of tactics they could use to stop us from ruling. Elections took place on the 4th of June. It was only on the 13th of August they finally inaugurated the government led by the PIDC and its coalition, PI Terranca. So the program of the government as well as the budget were passed unanimously in the National People's Assembly, and the president of PIDC, brother and comrade Domingos Simões Pereira, was elected as the president of the National People's Assembly. So what happened? In December, this imposed neo-colonial puppet, Umar Sissoko Mbalo, had a desperate so-called plan, because it's not really a plan, to say that, oh, that was attempted coup d'etat, and as a result of that, he has to dissolve the National People's Assembly, and when you dissolve the National People's Assembly, the government has to fall. Well, the Constitution of Guinea Bissau says that you cannot dissolve the National People's Assembly for at least 12 months after elections. We just had elections in June. So December was less than 6 months. So that's the first part. The second problem is that even if we had been in, the Assembly had been around for 12 months, you can't just wake up, wash your face and say that this National People's Assembly is dissolved. You have to call for a meeting. There has to be a grave institutional crisis. For example, the Supreme Court is at lock with the government, or the government is locked up with and not getting along with the government, with the National People's Assembly, et cetera, et cetera. None of that was happening. But even if that did happen, you have to meet with the president of the National People's Assembly first. You have to meet with all the parties that have representatives in the National People's Assembly. And then you have to call for a meeting of the Council of State. If the consensus is to dissolve the National People's Assembly, you still have a permanent commission that meets, made of the president of the National People's Assembly, the 2 vice presidents, the 2 secretaries, and the other positions are filled according to the proportion of those who have seats in the National People's Assembly. But it has to be voted upon by all the representatives of the National People's Assembly. But they just closed the doors and put armed people there. Prior to that, they had some armed mass militia surround the house of the president of the Supreme Court, as well as Supreme Court building. So right now we don't have a functioning Supreme Court. Why? All these are desperate attempts to try to bring about chaos, because he knows, they know, his masters know, that we're supposed to have presidential elections this year, 2024, because our Constitution says that the mandate, that the term of office for the president is 5 years. This illegal imposed president was inaugurated on the 27th of February, 2020, which means that on the no later than the 27th of February, 2025, a new president has been inaugurated. But if a new president has been inaugurated in February, that means you have to have elections first. And you have to have time just in case there's going to be a runoff election. So you have to follow basically the schedule that happened 5 years ago. Elections took place in November, presidential elections. The runoff election took place in December, and this illegal, illegitimate puppet president was, so-called president was inaugurated on the 27th of February. So that's what's happening. But he's trying to say, no, it's going to be a year later, just like what just happened in Senegal. You got this puppet president, neo-colonial president of Senegal, Macky Sall, who said that he's going to postpone elections, supposed to happen this month, and push them back to December. And then kick some people out of the National People's Assembly. Those who were there, they voted in favor. But of course, that caused a lot of backlash in Senegal. This was also causing a lot of backlash. Even just yesterday, we had a lot of people in Europe go to Portugal. You know, Portugal is the former colonial master of Guinea Bissau. So they decided to go right there to the belly of the former colonial beasts and have a march in protest. And they did it. Thousands of people. And they said basically simple, straight to the point watchwords. Open up the doors of the National Assembly now. Let the democratically elected legitimate representatives of the people go back to work to do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to monitor the government. We have a program, we have a budget to make sure that the government is following that program and budget. But they kicked the government out illegally and formed what they call a government of presidential initiative. It doesn't have any program. It wasn't elected. It's the same people who were there before the elections who are just there now to dilapidate the treasury. But they know they won't be there long, so they know they're trying to steal as much as they can. They're even doing things like trying to sell islands. We got 88 islands off the coast of Guinea Bissau, and even trying to sell some of these islands. But they're supposed to be a quote unquote caretaker management government, but they're trying to get rich quick. So, my brothers and sisters, comrades, we're going through a positive action campaign, which means that we will use any and all means available constitutionally to make sure that the democratic will of the people is put into practice, which means that we would like for you to help us like you did last week. Some of you got in contact with the regional body for West Africa states called Economic Community for West African States, ECOWAS. Now we want to go to the next stage. We want to get in contact at the same time with the United Nations Security Council's Department for Political Affairs and Peace, as well as the African Union. It has its Security Council for Peace and Mediation, as well as it has a Pan-African Parliament. And the ECOWAS also has a West African Parliament. But also in the Security Council, you have 15 seats. 5 are permanent. You have 10 that are every 2 years they elect on a rotational basis. We want you to also get in contact with Algeria is one of those. We put the contacts of Algeria. Our brother and comrade Kwame Sekou has those, as well as the representative for Mozambique. He's also on the Security Council. But now the permanent representative, you have Russia, you have China. It's a good idea to get in contact with them as well. So we have the contacts for the West African Parliament, for the Pan-African Parliament. You know, the Pan-African Parliament is based in inside of Zania, South Africa, whereas the West African Parliament is based in Abuja in Nigeria. But we put their contacts there. We want you to get in contact with them so they know that the world is watching and to make Guinea Bissau more of a priority. It's not the only priority. You know, got a lot of priorities, but we want to make sure that it's not overlooked. Because we know they're just coming off a vacation. They went on vacation in the middle of December. The vacation ended about a week or two ago. So to make sure that they said, we know that the ECOWAS has their West African Court of Justice coming to Guinea-Bissau on the 9th. They're supposed to be until the 23rd. We want to hear from you all, so you can be part of this history-making process. It's not an isolated case. Helping to consolidate the power of the African part of Guinea, Cape Verde, independence of Guinea, Cape Verde, along with this coalition, PI Terranca, to connect it with the other revolutionary parties in Africa and the world will help us come closer to liberating the world. But now we know as Africans, the primacy for us is the liberation of Africa. When Africa is liberated, it helps with the liberation of the whole world. So this is our appeal to you, comrades. I want to thank you for your time. Ready for the revolution.
Ready for the revolution. So the link's going to be in the bio. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be in the comments and below. So,
I can hardly hear you.
I said the link's going to be in the bio. That's up top. Or if you're watching on YouTube, the link's going to be below. So help us out with this new campaign to open up the National People's Assembly in Guinea-Bissau. Ready for revolution. We appreciate your time.
Okay, my brother and comrade. So everybody look at all those